This cryptocurrency exchange moved $96 billion, and for 3 of the years it spent moving that money, the United States had already branded it a criminal enterprise. On April 5, 2022, the exchange was blacklisted, sanctioned, cut off from every American and every bank tied to the U.S. financial system. A sanctioned exchange is supposed to die within days. Partners run, customers scatter, the lights go out. This one kept its lights on. It went right on taking deposits, in plain sight, until 3 governments finally seized its servers. $96 billion, through a service the world had already locked the door on. 2 threads to hold on to tonight. The first is how a blacklisted exchange keeps running that long. The second is the one ordinary decision that put one of its operators in handcuffs. Both come back before this file closes. Start with what the exchange actually was, because on the surface it looked ordinary. A cryptocurrency exchange. You deposit one asset, you trade it, you withdraw another. Millions of people use exchanges just like it, for nothing more sinister than buying Bitcoin. This one was called Garantex. Treasury filings describe it as Russian-run, moving enormous volume out of Moscow from 2019 onward. What set it apart was not the technology. The difference was who it was willing to serve and who it was willing not to ask questions about. A compliant exchange behaves like a bank. It checks identity. It watches for suspicious patterns. When dirty money shows up, the exchange files a report and ideally freezes it. At a compliant venue, Chainalysis puts illicit funds at around 0.14% of total volume. Small, contained. The system mostly working. Garantex ran nearly 10 times higher. That gap is the whole story. The dirty money was not an accident it kept failing to catch. For a long stretch of the Russian-speaking cybercrime economy, this exchange was the door the money was meant to walk through. By 2022, investigators say, it had become one of the last big venues where sanctioned Russian actors could still reach the wider crypto market. That is what earned it the sanctions on April 5, 2022. And the sanctions did not arrive alone. On the very same day, the United States also moved against Hydra. At that point, Hydra was the largest darknet market on Earth, a Russian bazaar for drugs, stolen data, and laundering services. Chainalysis and Treasury had tied Garantex to that world. Blacklisting the marketplace and its favorite cash-out window on the same afternoon was not a coincidence. That was the plan. On paper, it should have been the end of the story. So here is the machine, one gear at a time. This is the map financial investigators use, not a manual. To see why an exchange is so valuable to a launderer, you first have to see the problem a launderer actually has. Picture a ransomware crew. They lock a hospital's files. They get paid in cryptocurrency. Now they hold a wallet full of coins. That sounds like a win. That is actually their weakest moment. Every one of those coins carries a public, permanent record of where it came from. The blockchain does not forget a transaction. So the crew holds coins that are in effect radioactive, traceable straight back to the crime. Useless the second an honest exchange looks closely. What the crew needs is a laundry. Somewhere that takes radioactive crypto in one door, hands back clean, spendable money out the other, and never asks where it came from. That is the service Garantex provided. Investigators describe 3 moves. They are the oldest 3 moves in laundering, redrawn on crypto rails. The first move is placement. The tainted crypto is deposited into the exchange. There, it lands in the same enormous pool as everyone else's ordinary trading. The second move is layering. Inside that pool, the funds are traded, split, and shuffled. The clean line back to the ransom gets buried under a mountain of unrelated transactions. The third move is integration. The now obscured value is pulled back out as something usable. Rubles, cash, a different coin with a fresh, innocent-looking history. Follow a single ransom dollar through that, and you see the trick. It enters as evidence of a crime. It leaves as an ordinary withdrawal. Same dollar, different story. The exchange sold that transformation at industrial scale. Chainalysis traced the proceeds moving through it back to some of the most active ransomware groups on Earth. Crews known as Conti, Black Basta, and Play. The exchange was not writing the ransomware, it was doing something quieter, and for the whole ecosystem, more important. It was the cash register. Every crew needs one reliable place to turn the crime into money. For years, this was it. When I worked transaction monitoring, this was the pattern we hunted hardest. Anyone can steal. The hard part, the part that actually pays, is the exit. Control the exit, and you control the crime. Now the flaw. On paper, this exchange was untouchable, run from Russia, beyond the reach of an American subpoena, protected by a government with no interest in helping Washington. Sanctions were supposed to strangle it. Instead, it just kept breathing. But a sanctioned exchange that wants to keep operating depends on a list of things it does not fully control. Every item on that list is a thread an investigator can pull. Start with the website. Domains have to be registered somewhere, on infrastructure that answers to somebody. Servers have to sit in a physical data center, in a real country, under someone's laws. Court filings place that hardware not in Russia, but across Europe. Then there is the money layer. Moving value at scale takes a stable digital dollar, and the companies that issue those tokens can freeze a wallet with a single command. Flip that switch, and the launderer's cash locks up mid-transfer. Underneath all of it, the machine needs people, administrators, human beings who log in, fix problems, and keep the doors open. Software can hide in Russia forever. The people who run it get bored, they get comfortable, and eventually, one of them wants a vacation. Remember the second thread from the top of this file. The one ordinary decision. It is about to arrive. Here is how the net actually closed, not with a single dramatic raid, but with the quiet coordination that sanctions are really built to enable. On March 6, 2025, law enforcement in 4 countries moved at the same time: Germany, Finland, the Netherlands, Estonia, all working alongside the United States Secret Service. Nobody needed to enter Russia. They went after the pieces the exchange had left within reach, the servers in European data centers, the domains. The Justice Department says they seized that infrastructure and froze more than $26 million tied to the laundering. A website that had defied a sanctions order for 3 years finally went dark. Not by choice, because someone else now held the keys. Then remember the stablecoin weakness from a moment ago. Around the takedown, the token's own issuer, Tether, froze roughly $27 million of its currency sitting in the exchange's wallets. The one dependency I told you they could not design away had just turned hostile at the worst possible moment. Then came the human thread. 2 administrators were charged, according to the indictment. One of them had done the single thing the machine could not protect him from. He had left. He went on vacation to India. India, unlike Russia, holds an extradition treaty with the United States, so that is where he was detained, according to reporting on the arrest. A continent away from his servers, held for a courtroom in Virginia that wanted him badly. The software stayed safe in Moscow. The man did not. That is almost always how these cases end, not because the code was cracked, but because a person, somewhere, stepped over the one border that was keeping them free. Now the honest part, because this is where I refuse to sell you a clean ending. The exchange was seized. Its money was frozen. One operator now faces a U.S. court, and the machine did not die. Within weeks, according to the Treasury Department, the operation simply moved. Customers and funds were shifted to a successor exchange. New name, Garantex. Same service, same clientele. People locked out of frozen balances were reportedly made whole in a new, ruble-backed token. One washing machine had been unplugged in a European data center and quietly switched back on somewhere else. So the government did the next thing it does. The successor got blacklisted too. The State Department then posted rewards for the operators still out of reach. Up to $5 million for the co-founder nobody has caught. $1 million more for other leaders, and the courtroom in Virginia never got its defendant. On August 31st, 2025, according to multiple reports, the administrator arrested in India died in prison there before any extradition. The cause has not been made public. Whatever he could have told investigators went with him. The other operator is still just a name in an indictment and a face on a reward poster. This is the shape of the fight now. Seize a server in Europe, and the service can reopen under a new banner within weeks. The people who depend on it simply follow the money to the next door. $96 billion moved. 26 million was frozen. That arithmetic is not comfortable, and I am not going to dress it up. This was a real blow, but it was not a knockout. So what does this case actually teach if you are the one trying to catch the next one? It is the lesson underneath every video on this channel. The crime is not the hard part to stop. The cash out is. A thief holding radioactive coins is still holding evidence. Their danger begins the moment they need to turn it into money. That step has to pass through a door somebody watches, an exchange, a bank, a compliance desk that decides to look closely. Sanction that door, seize its servers, freeze its dollars, and you will not have stopped every criminal. But you will have made the exit expensive, and the exit is where the whole business lives. 96 billion moved through this one before the world managed to close the door. Somewhere, the next crew is already looking for the door that opens after it. If you found the machine worth understanding, do two things that genuinely help this channel. Hit like, so the work travels further, and subscribe, so the next case file lands in front of you. There is always a next one. $96 billion, moving through a door the world had already locked. It took 4 countries and 1 badly timed vacation to prove that a locked door still counts. Case closed. Follow the money.